right, everybody, welcome into Concrete Jungle, a New York baseball podcast here on FanLikes1.com. Paul Russo here, joined as always by Kyle Evans. Kyle, a lot to kind of get to today, but we made it to the end of the week. It's going to be our last episode for a week because of the 4th of July. So, look, to be fair, we'll have one probably really predominant headline for both teams. One super positive, one, again, not so much for the Yankees and the Mets. Second half of the season is officially underway at the AAA level in the International League. Rochester and Syracuse out of the gates good with a couple wins each. So looking forward to kind of touching on that a little bit here. And, so congratulations, not to spoil it, but you witnessed your first complete, full, perfect game last night on live TV. So how was that experience for you? I know you mentioned a little bit about back in the day catching the last perfect game thrown before Herman's last night being Hernandez's, but for you, it was your first full experience.
Yeah, I think it was like the 4th inning. I actually thought it was just a no-hitter. I thought Herman had walked somebody. I was like, oh wow, he's actually still perfect. So yeah, that was really cool to watch. Just watching it, you're a little nervous for him, and you hope he gets it done. And then that 8th inning when he had a 3-1 count, and then battled back, that was huge. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was good to see the Yankees on the right side of history. This month they've kind of been on that negative side with the offensive struggles.
Fair. Yeah, definitely. And that we aren't, obviously, for the Yankees, not just talking about the perfect game, right? Another game to talk about, and even to be fair, we kind of talked about a little bit off air. It took until about the 4th inning to really have any sort of offensive motion kind of get going there for the Yankees yesterday. So we'll touch on that. For the Mets, I think a lot of it, has now revolved around the comments Steve Cohen made yesterday to the media. On Wednesday, we'll talk that, even though, again, they've gone back and forth, the Brewers, so far. And Tuesday was super positive, but, Monday and yesterday on Wednesday, not as great. So we'll touch on that. Obviously, kind of mentioned Rochester and Syracuse already, so but we'll get to them as well. So do a brief mention of our sponsors, and we thank Dr. Jeffrey Halstead, DMD, for hopping on board. He's been Canandaigua hometown dentist for more than 35 years, offering routine dental care as well as cosmetic dentistry, implants, and dentures by their highly trained and experienced staff. Visit them online at CanandaiguaDentistry.com, or you can find them on Facebook and Instagram. And Kyle mentioned 4th of July, right? July 4th coming up. Lincoln Hill Farms over in Canada. We can head out to there for the July 4th experience. One-of-a-kind entertainment. Enjoy live music throughout the day with the Rockstar Academy. Play some long games. Watch fireworks under the stars at night. You can grab a craft brew or beverage from their silo bar. Grab some great grub from their food area. Bring out the family. Bring your lawn chairs, picnic blankets, and enjoy the day over there. For more information, go online at LincolnHillFarms.com. So, let's jump on into this. Obviously, we'll do the Yankees here first. So far, right, they have split with Oakland, but the main storyline will be the perfect game. 24th in MLB history. The first since Felix Hernandez's in 2012. Domingo Herman, 9 innings, 9 strikeouts, 99 pitches. Coming up all 9s for number 0. It's always funny how baseball works. And I wouldn't say I think a lot of people, it's tough to kind of gauge. I think more people were discussing it than initially met the eye, where it was kind of we'll call it put up or shove game, kind of for Herman in a way. Had a rough couple of goes of it, especially that Seattle game, which I'll touch on that stat in a minute. But I didn't think he was necessary pitching for at least this season's spot in the rotation, especially since, not to give too much away, right? Johnny Brito pitches a great game on Tuesday and gets optioned to back to Scranton. So it was pretty interesting, but you were able to see the complete game. I was able to hop in mid-game. He looked about as good as maybe he's ever been, to be completely honest. And it's baseball's just weird like that, how, I kind of said it off air. It's always sometimes the guys you just don't expect, right? Domingo Herman might be the latest example ever, but like Philip Umber, if you want to go deeper into the Yankee history, and, he was a good pitcher, but he wasn't Whitey Ford or Red Ruff or any of these guys, right? But, like, Don Larson in the World Series, like, it's sometimes it's these guys you just don't expect. And he goes out there, and I get it's Oakland and blah, 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 but you face who's in front of you. And it doesn't matter. The fact that it's the 24th perfect game, it cements your spot in history for forever.
Yeah, obviously the opponent, is not a great team. They're one of the worst in the league, but it's still to throw a perfect game. This is not a no-hitter. This is perfect. No errors, no walks, just perfect, and that's tough to do against any opponent, especially at this level. And the A's do have a couple good hitters in there. I mean, a guy like Brent Rooker, he's a good hitter. And then they have Ruiz, who, has speed, could easily beat it out a ground ball. So, yeah, I thought that was, despite, the opponent, that's still very, very impressive. And one thing with Herman last night is he finally got that really good curveball back. He struggled with that his last two outings. That's why he got hit pretty hard. And he was just pounding the zone, a lot of first pitch strikes. He didn't really fall behind much until that eighth inning when he was behind 3-1. So just basically all night he was just cruising, and they weren't even hitting balls hard off from him. I think only one had a 50% probability of a hit. So, yeah, he was just dominating.
Give him that stat you told me off air, speaking of that curveball.
Yeah, 19 of his 27 outs came with the curveball. So that was very impressive.
I mean, it's huge, and Kyle, you get to have your face on camera here for a little bit longer as the internet has paused on us for the telecommunication portion of switching here. And there we go, now it's back online, so it should be switching over to me here momentarily on the visual side of things. But, yeah, I mean, this is where I want to jump in with this. So this is the first ever perfect game where the pitcher who pitched it came off an outing where he allowed 10 runs, right? And to show even how rare it might be just in general, in terms of, you talk about the no-hitter, right, where we're in well through triple digits, and nothing wrong with a no-hitter, right, but perfect game, there's 24 of them now, right, 24. He's the first no-hit pitcher to do it since 1937. And the two prior to that were in the 1800s. So what does that tell you? I mean, again, a guy who went out there on a mission. And look, I get, we did talk about this off air, and we probably should mildly address it, right? Where it's this, you can say what you want about him, and it's respectable, right? We both have came out against Herman on multiple fronts throughout the course of the past couple of years that we've been doing this podcast now. But this is a guy who, it appears, he's kind of taken what I call the high road in a lot of this, where he's since everything that went down with him and his significant other has stayed at least in the good graces of most people and has done what appears to be mostly the right thing. And coming off a rough week for him, right? We talked about that outing, but I know he lost an uncle he was close with as well. I mean, I don't want to call it a redemption story. I don't like kind of calling it with certain individuals like that, but for a guy who admittedly this has not been an ideal MLB career probably for him, to be completely honest, when you think about it. I kind of forgot, where he pitched his first ever professional ball in America?
No.
Batavia.
Really?
Because he was in the Marlins organization. He was part of the Evaldi trade. Batavia Muck Dogs were his first American professional team. Wow. And it's kind of wild when you think about it. You come from that to where he's been, and look, to be fair, I mean, he was kind of a top Yankee, I wouldn't say true prospect, just the way he was acquired and everything like that, but this is a guy who I think the Yankees had high hopes to potentially be as good as the number 2 guy behind Severino for a few years, and just hasn't fully clicked. But last night for that magical 2.5, 3 hours, it just finally did.
Yeah, I remember back when he received that big suspension for the domestic incident, and a lot of people are calling for him to be DFA'd, and we actually thought he could be DFA'd, and the Yankees, I guess, just decided to stick with him. I guess kind of what they did with Chapman, Aroldis Chapman, and he's had some rough times as a person, but I guess in the baseball world, he's had some good moments, and last night was his best one yet.
Yeah, let's talk about I guess the rest of the series too as a whole now, because you know I know you tweeted it out, or it was a retweet technically, I guess, but Yankee offense has not been good here the past now full calendar month, in addition to I guess really maybe parts of May. If you want to do the deeper dives into all that, and I mean if we want to we could, but we'd be here all day for stuff like that. I mentioned, right, Johnny Burrito goes out, has another just really good start, right? And the offense, not there for him. And through the first third of the game yesterday, the first 3 innings, it wasn't there for Herman either. Finally, the 4th inning, the Yankees push across the run and kind of opens it up a little bit. But, hey, not to dunk on the guy, because I was sitting in this chair, that chair, pretty much this time last year, calling for J.P. Sears to stay in the Yankee rotation. And, he's obviously off in Oakland and maybe not having exactly the same great time, but, I mean, J.P. Sears was borderline looking like Randy Johnson there for a moment type stuff. And, for a Yankee offense, and I get that they're struggling, we have, some positive news on Aaron Judge again here, but, you can't be whittling away opportunities. You know what I mean? Especially in a spot like last night where it clearly didn't make a difference last night, right? They 1 inning shout out to the 5th inning will suffice for the whole entire offense for the night. But, you look at the Tuesday night, 1 run. Last night was, through 4 innings, just 1 run. Something's got to give here. And I don't know. I mean, we've been pounding this nail into the board for so many podcasts about it that we've kind of running out of things to fully just kind of say on it, other than something's got to give, which cliched, but I don't know. Where's it going to come from at this point? Bader's looked good. I thought maybe not as good as he probably could be per se, but, you can't just outright blame one guy who's now getting fully everything back going again, coming off of injury. Donaldson is still mightily struggling. Giancarlo, I know he had a home run yesterday, but overall he's still struggling. I don't know. I mean, I look at the stats today, and do you know who the Yankee average leader is right now?
Yankees average leader, that's tough. I haven't looked at averages in a while. I would say Rizzo or Torres.
You're right. It is Rizzo at 263.
Yeah, and remember when he was 303?
And that's not good.
Yeah, and he was a 300 hitter into almost late May. And I don't know if you know this stat, too. I looked the other day. Rizzo hasn't homered since, May 27th.
Yeah. I knew it was a while. I didn't think it was now over a month.
Yep, and Gleyber Torres is their second most home runs.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I know they scored 11 last night, the most they've scored with Judge on the injured list.
Right.
But for me, I mean, the way things are going, today they'll come out and score 2 runs.
Probably.
And that's the thing, I don't think we should talk about.
Clark Schmidt is pitching, so.
Yeah, that's why I don't think we should talk much about it. And to be fair, they have the worst pitching staff. The Yankees should be scoring this many runs.
Yeah.
And they didn't do it the first night, so.
How many of those runs were technically earned yesterday, too, though? Not too. I don't want to, just keep dunking on the A's because I don't think it's fair to them. But, how many of them were earned yesterday, even?
Yeah, because Oakland had 3 errors, and,
Yeah.
of course, they're just a sloppy team. That's why it was just so embarrassing to lose 2-1. I mean, 2 runs is not it's too much for your offense. Wow.
Yeah, it's wild. Okay, let's shift gears here a little bit. Let's talk a couple injury updates and moves here, even though it's really, to be fair, only one true injury update, and it's regarding Aaron Judge. Ain't it funny how it kind of works sometimes? We talked Monday about how, he's wanted to kind of do some sort of baseball activity. The Yankees aren't allowing it. Lo and behold, of all days, yesterday in the afternoon during warm-ups, and the early warm-ups, not the stuff, the hour and a half before a game, he's on the outfield playing light catch. And, that's a positive sign. I know he's taking it as a positive sign. Said it is a good sign. But he also said, it's not significant either. It's just, he's kind of going out there and doing his thing. But, that being said, he also kind of tagged it up. I know Boone also kind of mentioned it a little bit post-game, even though obviously we know what the bulk of the questions kind of were for pretty much everybody involved last night were. He did say that, Judge is feeling a little bit better day by day at this point. So, I know the plan. I know the designation next to him still says August, but as long as, he's now kind of doing some baseball activity, I take it as a positive sign. It's June 29th. This is it for June for us, podcast-wise. When we come back, it will be July. So I think, albeit minor at this point, I do feel as though it's actually significant, even though Judge and maybe even Boone and a couple others may be playing it down a little bit.
Yeah, Judge said he would be out there again today before the game, so if we see that again, that'll be good. But the thing with me is playing catch, not really moving much is not really that significant because hitting is the biggest problem. I mean, that's where his back foot is and where he's going to push off. So I think hitting would be the biggest thing to kind of make that significant step, and if he can get through it.
Sure. I don't know. Even though if light catch and flat ground, you're still putting pressure on that toe.
Yeah, but he's got a ton of arm strength. He's probably not really using his legs.
No, I don't disagree, but you're still, when you're shifting, you're putting enough pressure on it that you could feel it. I don't know. I'm just floating that into the atmosphere. Uh-oh. I've seen that look before on this podcast.
Just some hockey news.
Okay. All right, a couple of news and notes here, just transaction-wise. Ian Hamilton was actually activated after Johnny Brito's start, kind of alluded to it. Brito option to AAA and the corresponding move there. Kind of was interesting. Kind of puts the Yankees not necessarily in limbo for the
Sunday.
For our at the St. Louis, but is this going to be a Jimmy Cordero start potentially for that slot at this point, or
Randy Vasquez?
Randy? You think Randy?
Yep. I think Randy will be back, and then the thing about that is that finally the day that Nick Ramirez gets sent down, because now what do they have left?
Right.
Not a lot of guys in that pen have options, and Albert Abreu would have to be DFA'd, and he's actually been pitching well, but so has Ramirez. So I don't know. They're in a tough spot. Their bullpen and their pitching has just been so good. You feel bad for sending a guy down at this point. And imagine if Scott Efros was not hurt. Their bullpen is amazing.
Yeah.
They have so many guys.
Yeah, it's interesting. We haven't seen any update regarding Nestor in about a week and a half. But we know he's kind of doing some light work. I don't know. I mean, obviously he's not coming back Sunday, right? But I don't know. It feels weird to me that they optioned Burrito for Hamilton to be back on the roster.
Yeah, Nestor said he was going to be thrown off a mound Friday or Saturday, so that's good. But yeah, I really don't think they wanted to send Nick Ramirez down. That's literally it. And since Burrito wouldn't pitch again until Sunday, they just figured out, well, we could just bring up Vasquez again. And Randy hasn't been that bad, in my opinion. He's been pretty solid. And it's the Cardinals. The Cardinals aren't that good this year. However, Paul Goldschmidt seems to be heating up. And Nolan Arenado, I didn't know if you saw he left the game yesterday.
Yeah, he got hurt.
Yeah, so I don't know. But I was a little surprised, too, by the move.
And it was Sunday, kind of perfect transition here at this point, right? The Yankees head to St. Louis after the Oakland game tonight. So let's do the Oakland thing up front here right now. Clark Schmidt, again, still to be determined for Oakland. I don't know what the plan is going to be there. I know Fujinami pitched yesterday out of the bullpen. They've kind of used him away from starting and kind of in the bullpen role. I know he's kind of done opening games for him. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case again today for them, but I don't know what they're going to do. So I don't know.
Yep, still nothing. I just checked.
So I feel confident with the Yankees there. I know, we talk about how the offense is struggling, and Clark Schmidt, who has pitched great but doesn't get run support. I'll go with the Yankees only because, if the A's don't know who they're going with at this point for a game that's going to be starting here in pretty much 4 hours, it kind of makes at least my mind, baseball-wise, kind of just go with the obvious choice, in my opinion, and pick the Yankees.
I'm going to stick with my prediction. They lose today, 1 of 3. Hate to say it, but just the way the month has gone, and hopefully they get rolling in St. Louis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, St. Louis, to be determined across the board for the Yankees. We'll probably stay with that, but we'll circle back to that in a minute, even though we all know pretty much where they're at rotation-wise for there. So, kind of already mentioned tonight, or this afternoon, it's a 3:37 first pitch here on the East Coast. Yes, our MLB Network for that. Tomorrow night, Friday night, 8:15 first pitch, Amazon Prime or MLB Network if you're out of market in the New York area. Matthew Liberatore will be going for St. Louis. Saturday, a 2:15 first pitch on Yes or FS1. Jack Flaherty will be on the bump for the Cardinals. And then Sunday, a 2:15 pitch on Yes. Jordan Montgomery goes for St. Louis. So, revenge game possibly for Jomo. So, we know that due up within this series should be Cole and should be Severino. And then obviously Sunday would be the for sure bullpen game / Vasquez / Cordero / I don't know, Wandy Peralta. Who knows what goes on in the brain sometimes of Aaron Boone. So I'll go 2 of 3 against St. Louis. They're just, you want to talk about a team that's in turmoil, and that just, I know there's a lot of national people actually talking about how they're in turmoil, but it's kind of wild how I think there's baseball fans who just are head in the sand with St. Louis about this deal, and they're not a bad team. I don't think anything's good in that clubhouse right now or good in that front office, and I think it's trickled down. For Yankee fans, you're about to be introduced to a very good rookie in Jordan Walker, who, as far as I know, still has the hit streak going. I believe it'd be at 18 or 19 now, so he's really good. That's going to be a name that I think, like I said, if you're a baseball person, you're going to want to know for years to come. I'll go 2 of 3, though. I think as long as Cole looks moderately good, I know Goldschmidt, you mentioned Kyle's doing good, but you lose Arenado. Pretty much everybody else is struggling outside Goldschmidt and Walker still. I think that plays to the advantage well. And then I don't know who's going to be fully where, but Liberatore is not, he's more or less fighting for his MLB career at this point. A former top prospect, he hasn't done well. Flaherty, you never know. He's Jekyll and Hyde this year. He's either been really on or really off. Montgomery's been pretty much that steadfast guy, and they can't really help him out when he's on the bump all that much either. So I'll go 2 of 3. I think the Yankees probably dropped that bullpen game on Sunday, to be completely honest. Even though I guess it's not really truly a full bullpen game. Vasquez, when he's gone out, has gone further than usually anybody. So I'll go 2 of 3 for the Yankees in St. Louis.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a bullpen game because they're in a stretch of 13 games in 13 days.
Yeah.
With no off day, of course. And Jordan Montgomery's definitely going to shut him down. We know how this goes against former pitchers.
Revenge game.
And they haven't faced that many lefties this year until yesterday. I don't know. I'm either seeing 1 of 3, or you're going to think I'm crazy, but I'm seeing a Cardinals sweep.
Yeah, you're nuts. Yeah, you are nuts on that one.
I'm just seeing it because the Yankees can pitch so well, but their offense, we're probably going to make all these guys look really good.
Yeah.
Fine, 1 of 3.
There
Yankees
you go.
get 1 somehow, some way.
Come on, you can't. can't fully expect.
But if they do sweep, just remember I said that, okay?
All right. We'll circle back to that at this time next week then.
Or make fun of me.
Fair enough. All right. Let's talk about the Mets. They've gone back and forth, like I mentioned off the top, with the Brewers. God, I'm sick of talking about the bullpen, but again, I mean, that's where half this issue kind of lies at the moment. No decision on Monday for Verlander, right? Looked good. I know he only went 5 innings, but was it 5 that he went on Monday? Yeah.
Needed to go longer than that.
Right, and I mean, we
That
kind of
bullpen.
talked about it a little bit off air after the fact, but bullpen goes down Monday, and they end up, in addition, yesterday as well. They get tagged for loss after Kodai Senga had another good start, but again, only went 5 innings. The outlier is Max Scherzer on Tuesday, or David Peterson, who looked like Max Scherzer. I got Scherzer on the brain. You'll understand why here in a second. But Peterson looked really good Tuesday. Went far and gave the team the opportunity to give him support, and they did. So
They always have that one weird
Just-
game. Remember
yeah.
in Houston, 11-1, was it?
yeah.
They always do this. And then they go back to the normal Mets.
So I think we can button it up after we kind of address the Steve Cohen comments, because to me anyway, I think that's where we can kind of jump into the different stuff here a little bit. So Cohen addresses the media Wednesday afternoon yesterday for really the first time all year. And I don't want to say he kind of just did, your kind of doggish and pony show type
That was a waste of time.
comments, but yeah, I don't think he addressed anything that was
Everyone already knew.
worth no. Right. I mean, if you had eyes, you would have been able to outright see it. You know what I mean? I always find interesting when, in the professional case, it's owners, right? In the case of, say, college athletics, the president or the athletic director saying, oh, person X's job is safe. Usually when somebody says that, I usually say that means that it's not. But I do agree with this statement that being rash is not going to change anything for the time being. That part I do agree with, and I know it's something that I don't think we necessarily disagree about, but I think it's kind of like one of those, like, we both see each other's side of the arguments and kind of get both angles type issue. I definitely lean on, I don't think firing Buck Showalter at this point is going to change much. I just don't. I think a lot of the issues for the Mets really stem from a lot of just, I don't know what veteran voice is going to step up, if at all. You know what I mean? And I don't think it's I think we're at the at all portion of this. And it's kind of wild because we know Verlander enjoys talking, but like Max Scherzer, I don't think he's, like a prick or anything like that. But like we've seen him on the mound be an absolute psychopath. You know what I mean? And he's not afraid to sometimes bark at teammates when needed, but like I don't think I've seen it this year. Have you seen it this year? Because I've seen the same tape as you.
No, and then did you see the rumor that came out yesterday? Or
About the trade clause, yeah.
yeah, I mean, I guess it's not like out of question if they're still like playing bad at the trade deadline.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. That's where I kind of lean on the whole entire, like, I do agree with Steve where it's like being rash and firing Buck's not going to change anything. I'm sure Buck's trying. I mean, he got tossed again yesterday, the second time in 4 days or whatever, after not being ejected at all. So, and I get it. Like, I know what he's trying to do, but again, I kind of go back to like the Houston thing with Pete Alonso, where I think that would have been the spot to do it, and he didn't, and we're back to being here, and you know, we were potentially both on pace for our prediction on Monday about the series being right. You know, you said 1 of 3. I said split. And we'll touch on, obviously, that here in a second because, obviously, there's one game left to be played today, and Max Scherzer's pitching that game, which is why he's on my brain. But
That'll be an L.
But, way to jump ahead. But, and it's not like Milwaukee's lighting the world on fire either, but, like, you know, Steve Cohen's comments yesterday didn't give me much hope for this team, I guess, going forward for the year, to be completely honest.
Yeah, his comments were pretty much everything that everyone knows. And he was like, when we pitch, we don't hit. When we hit, we don't pitch. Like, yeah, Steve,
No
yeah,
kidding.
that's how it goes. I guess he was just, like, kind of repeating what fans already know. I guess, I don't know. It was just pointless. And it was, like, 23 minutes, whatever. But, yeah, I did find it a little interesting that he was being asked if they would go out and acquire pieces at the deadline. He was like, no, not if we keep playing like this. He's like, that would be pointless. But he said they would make some minor moves. So I wonder if that would ever be like, you know, sending what did he say, Scherzer? He could waive his no trade clause. Yeah. So yeah, I wonder if like a move like that happens, which I think Scherzer would be thrilled. I mean, who wants to miss the playoffs and at his age especially?
I mean, it's kind of what I talked about, Thursday last week, where to just at this point sell out and just plan for the offseason and Shohei Ohtani. And I think the hope was you get through at that point, 10 days, at this point now, 3 days, 4 days, and you'd be able to reassess and feel a little bit confident as opposed to being now 8 games under 500 and 17 back in the division.
Yeah, and we were here Monday and there were 16, so it got worse.
Yeah.
It just gets worse.
Yeah, I get why, and I don't blame Steve, right? And that comment is probably the truest one of the bunch to me from yesterday, in the sense that, yeah, like, why would you make moves if you are just pretty much out of it? Like, outside of maybe bringing in somebody that you think can make an impact for next year, that's what he probably meant by the minor moves. Like, I'm with him there. It's the same stuff that we've been talking about on here for pretty much 2.5, 3 weeks, is where it's, at what point do you just kind of pull the plug? And maybe that's the case. Maybe Scherzer very clearly is open to, the way it seems, potentially being on the move. And there's gonna be an interesting spot with this with this rotation here, really in a matter of a couple weeks at most, and we'll touch on that in a second as well. But you know, maybe, and this is why I kind of think that, you know, not to get too far ahead, they'll win today. I don't think it's a matter of anything that the Brewers will do, but like, if Scherzer's playing pissed off and more or less auditioning for a contender to make a move to get him, I bet you he does it today. Especially on the heels of the rumor coming out yesterday and Steve's comments yesterday and everything kind of surrounding the team.
Yeah, I got a Willie Adames grand slam today. The Mets
Oh, wow.
don't even come close to winning. But I also did want to ask you, because it was a lot of reaction over social media, what did you think of Justin Verlander smiling and laughing during his post-game presser? Like, he was literally, like, laughing.
I go back to that with him, where it's like he's always got something weird going on.
And do you think he's unhappy and he's mad that he made that choice to sign in New York? Because a lot of people are, like, speculating about that, like Mets fans. Or is he just fine with the money he got?
I think he's fine at this point with the money. I've had problems with him since his final days in Detroit, because he literally was just more or less like sabotaging not only like himself but the team, to a point that it was so clearly visible. Not that I personally care. I mean, teams tank all the time in different sports and stuff like that, but for a guy to do that to a team and more or less threaten to retire if they didn't do anything to him mid-season, you know, I have some beef with, and then to act as if everything was has been fine with them since, whether it's been with Houston or now with the Mets too. I don't think he's actually about winning in that regard. So I think he's fine. As long as that check clears for him at this point, I think he's fine.
And I loved Adam Ottavino's quote last night. He seems like the only guy that's actually said something like this. He's like, good teams overcome stuff. We're not overcoming stuff. At least he was real.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. That's where I feel, I know what we sometimes say you shouldn't feel bad for pro athletes about it, but I feel bad for clearly the guys like Ottavino. I know Robertson's kind of been quiet, but you can tell he's just frustrated with himself and frustrated with the team. Alonso has kind of fallen in this path as well, but like there's a few of them where it's like you can clearly tell they give a crap. You know what I mean? And like it's not it's not their fault that the other guys around them just aren't lighting a fire under themselves at that point. But that goes back to my top point of this argument almost. It's just like, how come nobody's grabbed the torch in the locker room yet and just like taken a fire to it? Like where is it? And I'm shocked. And I'm not saying it has to be, say, Pete Alonso. I know he's been around for 5 years, but he's still on the younger side of it. For me, it's more or less I'm pointing the finger at Scherzer. I'm pointing it, admittedly, even though I just bashed him at Verlander, right? Pointing it at Lindor at this point. These vets have to be the ones to set the culture, and they just haven't. And now it's at the doorstep of the Mets this year. It just is.
Yeah, this is a little off topic, but a lot of people are calling for Pete Alonso recently on Twitter, and it's funny because they're just talking about his batting average. But he's been their most productive hitter by far. He has 24 homers, 55 RBIs. But
still second in the big league.
Are you aware of his batting average? I mean, batting average isn't everything, but it is very low.
Is it down to like 240 now?
220.
Oh, Jesus, lower than that even. Shit.
So, I mean, I get like you need to point at something at this point, but how much more does
pointing it at Pete Alonso?
How much more does he need to provide for you?
If you're pointing it at Pete Alonso, you're pointing it at the wrong person. In my opinion, you really are.
Yeah.
And I get that he's strong. I get it. We've been now doing this with the Yankee side of it too, and I get that. You know what I mean? But like,
and because he's hitting 164 over his last 15 games,
right?
But he has 4 home runs and 9 RBIs in that span.
But
so he gets those big hits.
Exactly. And he's going out there, and like I said, he's showing that he gives a damn. It's hard for me to get mad at the guy if the production just isn't there, but he's out there doing his best to at least will himself. I can't be mad at that, especially when there's other guys around him who clearly aren't. And now it is what it is.
And then people calling at Francisco Alvarez a bust again for him not producing the last 2 weeks.
He's a rookie, and I get that. But, like, that's what happens when you play the kids every now and then. Like, the same people knocking him are the same ones who are, begging for Vientos to get time, even though he was playing with the same numbers, right? But at least with us, right, we've been steadfast and just let the kids play. You know?
Brett Beatty doesn't need days off. I can't believe he got the day off the other day. Like, what are we doing, Buck?
Especially the day that they traded Escobar away.
Yep.
I don't know.
Just because the lefty's on the mound. Yep, a kid can't hit a lefty, apparently.
I mean, it is what, I don't know. All right, let's move on here. Let's talk about some injury updates and roster moves. We'll start with David Pearson. Not a move necessarily here, but he is expected to remain in the rotation following to start on Tuesday, which was very strong. And at the moment, will until Jose Catano returns. More on that in a second. A lot of this kind of stems from the fact that, frankly, Carrasco has been miserable in June. It's going to be interesting, and this is why I bring up why we bring up the Scherzer stuff and Verlander stuff and stuff like that. Mets rotation's going to have some people coming back here within the next month, whether it be Katana, possibly Alicia Hernandez, Magill's at AAA, Lucchese's at AAA, Buto's at AAA. They're going to have options. And so I'll jump into the next part with Jose Katana. One more scheduled rehab start tomorrow on Friday. And then, as long as everything goes good, he's lined up to return to the Mets when they're in Arizona next week. But even if he looks good, the Mets still feel like he may need another start in rehab assignment, and that would push his return to after the All-Star break. Mets have some questions coming up here, obviously. I think at this point the decision's pretty easy. I think you have to roll with possibly putting Carrasco out to the bullpen here. Or the Yankees have done it, the Diamondbacks have done it. Just DFA the veteran and eat the salary.
Ooh, I didn't think you'd say that. I agree with the bullpen because look at his starts. He doesn't give you length. So he could give you, 1 or 2 innings out of the pen if needed. Or, how their other starters sometimes don't give length. He could be the long guy out of the pen.
Another Trevor Williams.
Yeah. So it wouldn't be a bad idea. And, he looks good sometimes for a couple innings, and he kind of just wears out, late in starts. So maybe that would be a good idea.
Look at me, bringing ideas to the table. Take that, Billy Epler. All right. Hey, Timmy LaCastro, slated to resume some baseball activities. In fact, they called it shortly, but it's really today that you could see it. I know he's been in what's called a soft cast, which is kind of like just a harder, firmer brace type thing. But they're still targeting a return around the All-Star break, aka 10 days. So I'm pretty intrigued by that. Obviously, it'll just be depth at this point. I'm guessing it'll probably be at AAA again, presumably.
Yeah.
So that'll be pretty interesting there. All right. After Monday, flurry of bullpen moves occurred after we recorded. I want everybody to buckle up into the time machine because T.J. McFarland was selected from AAA Syracuse to come on up, the reliever. Left-handed reliever Josh Walker, right-handed reliever Vinny Natoli were optioned. Right pitcher Drew Smith, who blew the game on Monday, was activated for that game.
In his return from suspension without the sticky stuff, immediately serves up a two-run homer.
Yeah.
That's a bad look.
Ain't baseball weird like that.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's that. The Mets are kind of looks like they're continuing doing that keeping arms fresh deal for the time being. All right. So the Mets, we mentioned one more with the Brewers tonight. I think we're both kind of sticking to our guns on our predictions with that. So that's a 7:10 first pitch. Brewers have announced that it will be Adrian Hauser coming back into the rotation. He'll get the start tonight for them against Scherzer. I'm going with the split still. You're still rolling with they take the loss in the series, right?
Yep. Mets bullpen blows it again, and the Mets continue to do nothing with the bullpen.
Yeah. I don't doubt it. All right, for the Giants, 3 games this weekend. Tomorrow, Friday, 7:10 first pitch on SNY. The Giants are to be determined across the board. They've gotten weird with their pitching this year. It's kind of 1 week we'll have a normal, what I call static rotation, where everybody's in the spots they are. Some weeks, Shamanaya pitches every other day because he opens the game, and then I don't know what the hell they do. So congratulations, San Francisco Giants. You have found a weird code, but it's working for you. So Carlos Carrasco goes tomorrow night, 7:10 on SNY. Saturday afternoon, 4:10, it will be Justin Verlander. And then 7:10, ESPN Sunday Night Baseball, it will be Davey Peterson in the start once again for the Mets. Again, kind of just go back to I hate to bang the drum. The Mets don't give me any hope that they could at least just win the series, obviously, let alone sweep. Part of me does feel like they can get the series win against the Giants. I kind of mentioned, right, the pitching thing they do is just weird. Like, I don't get it, but it works for them. So that being said, I think the Mets only are able to snag one against the Giants. They will lose another series over the weekend.
Yes, I agree. They win 1 of 3, and the one game that they win, they'll probably look like a complete baseball team. The inconsistency continues to be just odd. They don't string together wins. They now haven't won a series in 8 straight, series. So, I don't know. It doesn't seem like they'll ever win multiple games in a row.
Yeah, I got, nothing. I mean, it'll probably be Peterson on Sunday that gets the win, to be completely honest, because, again, baseball's weird like that.
And the Mets have split with the Giants. Remember in San Francisco, they won the first 2, lost the last 2. Yep.
Yep.
So we'll see how this one goes.
Yeah.
The Giants are playing better, though.
Yeah. All right, let's before we head out of here for our 4th of July weekend, let's touch on Rochester and Syracuse, both victorious in their opening games of the second half of the year. That means, good news, everybody, your Red Wings and S-Mets are first place in the International League. I don't care that they're tied. I will be right, and I will take this day to be right. A couple different things here, and it's a long list of roster moves for Rochester because Washington's doing some stuff again here. But I would say it's nobody that we've kind of mentioned of this core, right, for them that are outright affected. So right-hander Paulo Espino was optioned from Washington. They called up right-hand pitcher Amos Willingham. If you're wondering who he is, one of the top prospects for the Nationals. He only had one appearance with Rochester because he was hurt. But he's going to call up. Now, a couple names I want everybody to recognize here in one particular. Right-hand pitcher Joel Perguerero and Jackson Rutledge were assigned from Double-A Harrisburg, especially Jackson Rutledge. He is Washington's top prospect as it stands. Can't miss stuff. I believe he got the start yesterday for Rochester, but I believe it was a no decision. So if you're able to get out, I know they're on the road this week, but they're coming back next week. Obviously, he should be in line for at least one of the starts there. Get out and see him. Like I said, can't miss stuff. Washington's top prospect. I believe he was 2019 draft. He was one of the lost years because of COVID, but now he's back doing the full-time pitching thing and everything. He's climbed up the ranks pretty quick.
Yeah, that seems like a good time to go and watch him. But do we think the Red Wings are going to have a good second half?
I do.
I don't know.
Oh boy, now you're backpedaling.
I don't know. I mean, I want them to have a good second half, but I just feel like, why is there so much movement all the time with them?
It's fair.
Constantly.
It's fair.
And then, like, it seems like they're kind of like the Mets. They get some good pitching. And
Jesus.
they get some good pitching, and then the offense doesn't show up, or then they win some close games, and then they get blown out the next game. I don't know. Just inconsistency, it seems.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Maybe I'll be wrong. I mean, I've been wrong several times before.
Yeah. Yeah, you will be. Shortstop Yordi Barley was assigned to High A Wilmington. That's because shortstop Jeter Downs back off the injured list. Lucius Fox also making his progression through the ladder rehab-wise. He was assigned to High A Wilmington for an assignment. Left-hand reliever Sean Doolittle was placed on the injured list.
That's a loss.
And but good news here, second baseman Darren Baker is being his rehab assignment. He was assigned to the Florida Complex League Nationals for that.
See, look at all these movements, man.
Well, that's not really movement in that sense.
Like,
Getting guys back off the IL.
yeah, well, I don't know. We'll see.
Jeez, you are brutal today with that. For the Syracuse Mets, it's not a lengthy list at all. Right-hand pitcher Daniel Nunez was assigned to Double-A Binghamton, and right-hand pitcher Sean Reed Foley was sent to High A Brooklyn for a rehab assignment. So he's coming back as well. He hasn't pitched pretty much in, I think it's like 2 years almost, at least in a full capacity. So he comes back from injury. So Syracuse home the rest of the week against Scranton. Rochester down in Lehigh Valley. So if you're able to get out this weekend, go ahead and do it. Obviously, it's going to be busy, 4th of July, but I know the S-Mets have fireworks going. Rochester's home for the 4th. Make sure you get out for that. If you can, it will be a good old time. No better place to be than the ballpark on Independence Day.
Yeah, but my guy Luke Voigt's just rotting down there.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
11 games played, 3 homers, 11 RBIs, 15 walks. And he'll just be stuck down there, and he'll opt out, and he'll be trying to find another home somewhere. Just sucks. Since his Yankee days, he can't find somewhere to live. And I don't know what to say at this point.
The 2020 home run leader in the MLB.
Yeah.
Tough scenes.
Yeah. I don't know what he should do. Should he just call it quits? Or does he love minor league life?
I mean, hey, some of these guys like playing.
But I don't know. Yeah. There's your Luke Voigt update.
Okay. Appreciate it. All right, so that'll take care of Concrete Jungle for today. Appreciate everybody for tuning in, listening, watching, all that fun stuff. No podcast, obviously, for the beginning part next week. We'll be back Thursday. I will be in Pennsylvania for the 4th. Kyle, you'll be presumably at least up this way, I would assume, right?
Yeah, I actually don't know what the family's plans
Oh
are.
boy.
Um, but I know we have something going on. But yeah, next Thursday we'll be back, and hopefully the Mets aren't, what, 23 games under five or behind in the division.
That's impossible for the time being.
I
But
meant
yeah.
behind in the division. And
That is possible though for in a week.
yeah, I mean the Braves haven't lost either. They're 13 of 14. Jesus.
Either have the Marlins
Yeah.
that much anyway.
Yeah, look at it. Oh, it's like 10.5 difference now between the Mets and the Marlins. Jesus.
How about them fish?
Yeah.
So Kyle, hope you have a great Independence Day to all of our listeners and viewers. Same to you. Be safe, have fun. Don't keep fireworks in your hands. Here's you, Jason Pierre-Paul. Anyway,
Be smart.
be smart, exactly, Kyle. So we'll talk with everybody next week. Enjoy the weekend, the long weekend. Everybody, be safe, have fun. I made a face reaction.